Number two, mission evangelism. This is something we need to hear a lot in the Western world, especially in the English-speaking Orthodox world, where we have things have gotten a lot better, but still have a lot of problems. We have these parishes that are characterized as Orthodox Christian parishes, but they're also characterized by other criteria, other names and identities, which are not at the top. They're at the top of the hierarchy. They come before the name of Christ, or before the name of Christian, or before the name of Orthodox Christian. And ultimately, as before, when we saw, if you love your parents or you love your children more than Christ, you lose both. You don't know how to love Christ or your parents, right? Remember how we said that? Same thing here. We love our nation or our ethnic identity or our whatever ethnicity. No, let's not think that American ethnic identity or the English ethnic identity or whatever is somehow accepted. They're all in the pot. If you love your Merodoxy more than Christ, you got a big problem. It's really quite ironic. We've been struggling in Orthodoxy in the last, I'd say 40 years, to bring all of the Orthodox Christians into line with the proper understanding of mission, evangelism, and all the rest. And yet we see a process slowly developing among some of those convert parishes. They're becoming very much like the things they were criticizing 20, 30, 40 years ago. And they're making their own parish into a kind of ethnic ghetto. And instead of like old school ethnic identity, they have the American identity, Merodoxy, as I call it, where they've brought Orthodoxy down to their level of a kind of mix of Orthodoxy and Protestant ethos. And there's these things that they justify, and we don't do this and we don't do that because we're in America and all this stuff. And they don't realize they're doing exactly in a different way, yes, but not much different. The hierarchy is being lost among them as well. You can see this in different places around the world, around them in the United States anyway. And people talk about it and they share their experiences. They say, this is what's going on in this parish. It seems like they have yet to really put things in right order and understand, first and foremost, follow the fathers, the Orthodox faith, the Orthodox orthopraxia, the Orthodox way, and then all the rest. And then all the justifications and all the, well, we do things differently because we're Americans. There's almost an elitism about it. Like, we're Americans, so we can just distort and twist things a bit to fit into our unique American landscape. Not a legitimate economy, which is rare, but it exists, and certainly it's possible. But rather a identity. American identity that does change the way we've been doing things for generations and ages, and they're justified as small t. I think one of our in our last live stream, or two live streams ago, there was a Latin theologian apologist, and he was talking about small t and big T and all these kind of distinctions, which really aren't Orthodox. They're not really Orthodox. I don't think they really make sense in the Orthodox context. You don't hear Elder Athanasius talking about that at all. Anyway, I'm a little off topic. Let's go back now to the example of mission evangelism, St. Innocent of Alaska. And it's very interesting. Elder Athanasius, now this is 1980s. I don't think he had any real extensive life of St. Innocent, even translated into Greek. And yet he wants to talk about St. Innocent. And as you'll see in the next slide, St. Nicholas of Japan. He wants St. Nicholas to be an example for his Greek-speaking listeners. He says, look at this example of what it means to be a follower of the Lamb in the mission field. He traveled to Moscow. This is St. Innocent. From St. Petersburg in a cramped sleigh. He spent entire months in a dog sleigh and sometimes even a reindeer sleigh, traveling thousands of miles through Siberia, weathering austere conditions to finally make it to Alaska. When returning, he chose to venture on a more southern course through China. Today, simply hearing of such an adventurous journey can be dumbfounding. It's just unbelievable for most of us, right? We can't imagine it. Keep in mind that he traveled to Alaska 2 times under the same conditions. So he wants to show you the dedication, the total commitment of those who are going to be counted in the book of Revelation are being recognized and praised. And Saint Innocent is one that came to mind. I think it's pretty wonderful for us in America who have him as one of our protectors. And it's also noteworthy to say that he lost his youngest child and his wife, fell asleep in the Lord during his absence when he was traveling. So he had that added pain. So in spite of all that, he didn't lose heart, but he continued on and was a great missionary. And then he continued back and became the Metropolitan of Moscow at the end of his life. What an amazing example of one dedicated to the Lamb. Another great example, commemorated by Elder Athanasius, St. Nicholas of Japan. A few decades later, St. Nicholas followed. So this would have been mid-19th century. St. Innocent, late 18th and early 19th century. A few decades later, St. Nicholas followed in his footsteps and dedicated his life to evangelizing Japan. He even became the first bishop of Japan. Up to that point, it was a fortress of idolatry, and more specifically, the worshiping of ancestors. He is the only Orthodox Christian who broke through this formidable wall, and the roots of Orthodox Christianity took hold in Japanese soil for the first time in 1,850 years. How amazingly intrepid these people are. What adamant willpower they must have had. St. Nicholas lived from the 1st of August in 1836 and reposed in 1912. And I think I'm getting the numbers right, but I might be a little bit off. I think it was 30,000 converts and baptized Japanese on his repose. I think he went there in the 60s. So he was there, 50 years, 45 years, something like that. And so in his life, something like 30,000, if not 30,000, it was certainly tens of thousands. I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember the number exactly. And then there's mission, and then there's us. How are we doing? How are we doing on the mission field? We look at these great examples. What of us today? Well, he's talking to the Greeks in the 1980s, and he says, today we hesitate to become involved with the slightest missionary effort, even a few steps from our home. After the resurrection, the Lord approached the Apostle Peter, and he asked him, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me more than these? And he said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And what did the Lord say to him? Oh, would you write me a card? What did he say to him? Would you show me by cooking some breakfast? Or what do you think he said to him? He said, feed my sheep. In other words, exercise your apostolic gift. I gave you this blessing of being the chief of the apostles. What are you doing with it? Do the work of the apostle. That's what it means to love me. So do the primary work of the apostle, which is spreading the gospel. If you do this, if you will truly love me, that's what it will mean to truly love me. That applies to everyone to a lesser or greater degree, of course. Obviously, we're not all in the same boat exactly, right? There's only one Apostle Peter, one Apostle Paul, as you see here, but analogously, we apply. My God.